Welcome back to BK Nothing But Nets podcast. We are back. It's been a while. It's been a week, I think, but it's good to be back. Joined by Dylan from Nets Press, who's got a new blog out, a new website. Dylan, introduce yourself. Tell everyone what you got going on.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've been traveling a bit. I had to do a nice 12-hour drive from South Carolina up to New York, so I am back home for now. But yeah, feel free to check out the new website that I created. It's called the Nets Press blog. Um, we have about 3 articles on there right now. I'm working on a fourth, but pretty much just giving a more in-depth detail on some of the Nets news going around, some fan perspective on what the Nets should look into doing. We did an off-season breakdown on potential draft prospects. Our latest one kind of goes in more in depth with the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade rumors. Kind of how the Nets really aren't in a position to do it or beat teams out in terms of the offer and package that they could give up. So feel free to go check that out. I'll leave a link in the comments as well. I'll figure out a way to get that. But yeah, feel free to follow me at Nets Press on Instagram. Again, I haven't posted in a couple of days. I've been traveling, doing the drive up, and kind of getting settled in again. But we'll have some more content out here shortly. So feel free to follow me over there.
And we're gonna try to do another live mock draft tomorrow at about this time. So we're gonna try to be back tomorrow. Want to get into the roster. We want to cover the roster. They got 5 picks, 4 in the first round. They got 1 in the second round. They're going to make some moves in free agency, some trades. There's going to be a lot going on. I want to get into who we think are going to be back and who's going to be gone. I want to start with the 2 names that we're likely to trade, or I don't want to say likely to trade, that are going to be discussed in trade rumors. And that's their 2 highest paid players in Claxton and Johnson. We spoke about this a little off air. I want to get to it. Do you think Claxton and or Johnson will be on this roster opening day 25-26?
I'm going to say no. And it's more so me just holding hope. But
Yeah.
I do believe one of the 2 will be gone in a perfect world where Sean Marks gets his head out of his ass. Both will be gone. And I think that there's a real possibility of that happening now, especially if, again, he gets his head out of his ass and really understands that going for a Giannis doesn't make sense, right? We kind of discussed this backstage. A Giannis deal looks almost duplicate of what the James Harden deal looked like in 2021. You're talking about the Nets who, as of right now, really don't have valuable draft capital. Like, we have a ton, but outside of our own this year and next, there's really not much valuable draft capital until the Suns swap, which we may or may not even get. I believe it's in 2028, if not 2029. But realistically, you gave up the Mavs pick in 2029. That's now valuable. You gave up 3 out of the 4 Suns picks. Those all 3 are valuable, right? You have the Knicks picks, but they're not really in a position to be a lottery team potentially until 2029 or 2031, which is when we have those 2 picks. So you're looking at overpaying for a guy like Giannis if it means keeping guys like Johnson to try and build, a contender around him, which again, you're looking at a package that could consist of Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton, and 5-6 first round picks for Giannis. 2 of those picks being our own this year and next. If you get Giannis, you're an immediate play-in team. So that pick already falls to, 10 through 16 range. Is that really something that Milwaukee wants to rebuild around? I don't think so. I was looking at teams like New Orleans, who owns Milwaukee's picks. I believe it's 3 of them that they own. One being next year, another being 2027, and I believe another being one between 2029 and 2031. I forgot which year it was. But they have better draft capital to give up and better players to give up. Houston, San Antonio, OKC, another group of teams that I'm pinning as potential suitors for Giannis, who all have better offers than us. I did one just now on the article that I posted, which was, let's see, I believe it was, I'm trying to get to the OKC. All right, let's do Houston first. It's Jalen Green, Reed Shepard, Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore, the Suns picks, and a Houston pick. So you're talking about 3 or 4 young prospects, one of which is a borderline star in Jalen Green, plus more valuable draft capital than what Brooklyn can give up. You have OKC, who could offer Jalen Williams, Isaiah Hartenstein, Nikola Topic, Aaron Wiggins, and a plethora of picks as well. So to me, it's really a no-brainer that, one, why would Milwaukee want to do business with us? Because we don't have the assets to help them rebuild quicker. And two, why would the Nets want to do it when you're gutting the only youth that you have in Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton for a big three that would consist of Noah Clowney, Cam Johnson, and Giannis? Like, outside,
Well, let me pause real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So if we traded Cam Thomas,
yeah,
it would be part of a sign and trade, right? So we would sign him again, let's say $22 million a year for 3 years, and then ship him off.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any? And I don't mean to sound like a net hater. I love this team. Is there anyone on this roster currently worth keeping? I mean, is there anyone you would say I don't want to trade him? There's not, right?
Person.
Not a single person.
There's not a single person on this roster that I see being here within the next 2-3 years. Like, realistically, even Noah Clowney, like, if you look at the injury history already so far in his first 2 years, he clearly has an ankle issue. He clearly is not able to stay healthy for long periods of time. His game is very inconsistent, and that is either him doing that or the scheme that they build around him by just staying on the perimeter and shooting threes. It's very inconsistent, and it's also one that he's dealt with the injuries now so far this year. I think he was out 3 times this year separately for ankle injuries.
The same injury 3 times. Yeah.
Last year he got hurt 1 or 2 times as well. So to me, there's not a single player on this team that you can really consider as a building block for Brooklyn. It all starts with this draft, and then if they were to accelerate the rebuild by going after Giannis, you're throwing that all away. So to me, you're then going to have to play the free agency game or the secondary star shopping, which is giving up more assets that you'll then be in a position where you have minimal assets, and now you're in a position where you have to sign all your role players through free agency with the cap space that you have remaining. So it's not a position that Brooklyn should even look into. It's too close to starting the rebuild to even be in a position to go after a guy like Giannis. So I don't think that they should. Does that mean Sean Marks won't? Who knows? We know him as an idiot. So we'll see.
No, you're good. My dog's going crazy.
Oh no, you're. I was stopping there. Yeah, I think.
I wanted to mute up because it's storming out. And my dog barks at the storm. She's going wild right now. All right, cannoli. All right. Even if we got Giannis, we're worse than Milwaukee, right? Because they have better pieces around them than we do. Like, it just doesn't really make a ton of. Now you do open up a window. And how much of Giannis do you think is left 3-4 years?
4 years.
4 years at this level.
And you have to think about it too. You're wasting the first year of him because you're likely not going to be building the contender in year 1, right? So
you're a playing team if you get him, right? Like, it's just not really. It doesn't.
Yep. And that's the thing too, right? When you're looking at the package that you could give up, does Milwaukee want 2 picks that are going to be potentially just outside the lottery, if not low lottery picks? Like, it doesn't really make sense on both sides. Like, Milwaukee is going to want young players who have upside and potential, and they're also going to want picks that can be very, very valuable, right? So that's another deal is New Orleans, which hasn't really been discussed yet. With Zion being a question mark and a new GM coming to New Orleans, does he want to make a splash and try and grab a top 5 player in basketball, right? If they were to give up a package of Zion Williamson, Herb Jones, and Jordan Hawkins, plus Milwaukee's 3 first-round picks that they own back to Milwaukee,
we've got nothing to compete with that. Yeah,
not at all. And you're talking about 3 picks for Milwaukee, 1 being 2026. If they are a bad team next year, they could be looking at a top 10 pick next year. And I think that's something that they'd value much more than, helping Giannis get to where he potentially wants to be. Like, even if Giannis wants to be in Brooklyn, we saw Dame who wanted to be in Miami and he didn't get there, right? So realistically, why put yourself in a position to have no roster to compete, even though you get the top 5 guy, right? And why would Milwaukee look to go and get minimal assets just to move on from Giannis, right? It doesn't really make sense on both sides. So I don't see an avenue where it works out for either of them.
The other option, which is more affordable, and it's not going to cost you the hole that Giannis would, is Zion. We've talked about that. I'm potentially for it. But even at Zion, at the trade deadline, there were 0 teams that were interested in Zion. Before they stopped playing Zion, Zion was playing phenomenally. I know you're against it. I am not against the Zion trade, so long as I don't have to trade this year's one. If I have to trade this year's one, I'm out on any trade. But if I could trade Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton, any other players on my roster, and future picks, I would consider that. The only thing I won't consider is trading this year's pick. Is there a world in which we could trade for Zion? He only makes $40 million. I say only $40 million, but compared to other stars, that's not that bad. Is there a planet that we could trade for Zion and keep this year's pick?
Like possibly, but what does that do for you? You know, like
if I'm starting, like let's say I get a top 3 pick. Let's say I'm starting over. Well, let's say I get a top 5 pick. I was no worse than Fears and Zion. Zion's 24. He's entering his physical prime. I have Fears, who I think is at worst. Maybe I have something better. Maybe I have Harper. Maybe I have, who knows. I have 2 all-star players now, just entering their physical prime. I got something. I have something. And I didn't break the bank for Zion. He's only $40 million. He's at $60 million down the road like Giannis. So I'm still going to have a little bit of cap space. I got 2 stars. Well, I don't want to say star. I don't want to call Fears a star yet because he hasn't played a game in the NBA. But I have something. I'm building something. I still would have a little bit of cap space, assuming Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton or whoever came off in that trade. So now I still have some free agency money that I can spend next year. I feel like I have something.
Problem is do you want something next year when you have a top 5 next year that is probably better than what Zion will ever be? Like realistically, Debance, Peterson, Boozer, Ament, potentially Tyron Stokes if he reclassifies. Those are 5 players that as of right now have more upside than Zion does currently. You know, to me, it's not worth the risk. And you're also, you know, mentioning that it's not as expensive with the $40 million contract, but it still eats away at your cap space, right? Why have a guy making $40 million who barely
I'm going to give you the Bansa, and I understand all of the ugly things that come along with Zion. He's fat. He doesn't like basketball. He's hurt all the time. He sits out games. He sits out seasons. Given all that, I'm going to give you the Bansa. The other guys on the court, just on the court, you think they're better basketball players than Zion?
Do I think if you match up what Zion has currently done in his career with the injury history and the, you know, the obesity issue, like if you look at all of it and you say, does this player have more upside and a higher ceiling than next year's potential top 5 picks? I say no, because I think Zion has peaked. I think he is at his best, even whether it's healthy or unhealthy. This is the Zion that you're going to get. And now you have to put into play the injury history. Is he going to stay healthy in Brooklyn? Is he going to put the Doritos down in Brooklyn? No, and no. It's just not a scenario to me that makes any form of sense. Why would you want a guy who can, you know, potentially be great making $40 million when you can have 2 guys over the next 2 years making less than $15 million a year over the next 4 years who have superstar potential, right? To me, Zion's not a superstar anymore. He doesn't have that upside. At best, he is a star, a secondary star, because he can't stay healthy. He can't be the guy to hit the final shot of a game. Why? Because he can't shoot a 3. He can't shoot a mid-range. So to me, it doesn't really make sense to, even if it is for a minimal package, to pursue a guy like him. It's too early on in a rebuild. They didn't even take the first year of the rebuild seriously. If you can move off of the veteran guys who are impacting, you know, those close game wins, such as Cam Johnson, you know, moving off of a bad contract that you offered and a position of need in Nick Claxton, then you're putting yourself in a position to lose more games next year while also taking the development of your young players more seriously. And to me, it all starts in 2027 where you can start pursuing real talent, right? You draft this year, you draft a high pick next year. Hopefully you gain another pick in next year's draft, whether that be through Cam Johnson or Nick Claxton. And that's it. That's your rebuild. You've rebuilt your team from the ground up, and you're now put in a position where you can shoot for the star, whether that's the 2026 offseason after the draft or the 2027 season at the trade deadline or that offseason. Either way, you have more flexibility in terms of financial spending over those 2 off seasons. You still have the draft capital which you can trade for and build a roster around your young potential star players along with a superstar. But to me, it doesn't make sense to try and do this thing quickly because, again, I've said it over and over again. You're not beating Boston no matter who you add. You're not beating Cleveland no matter who you add. You're probably not even beating the Knicks. It doesn't really matter who you add, right? You have teams like Orlando who's put in a position to go after a guy like Trae Young or Ja Morant this offseason. You're not beating them, right? Indiana, they may be mediocre in the regular season, but they get shit done in the playoffs. You're likely not beating them. So to me, it doesn't make sense. Let some of these teams die out, really build an opportunity where you have a 10-year window rather than a 4-year. Because if you drop all those assets again and you're stuck at a 4-year window and you do nothing, you're again putting yourself in a position to what just happened with the post KD Kyrie era, right? You could make a mistake again and get your Mikal Bridges 2.0 with minimal assets, and you'd miss the play-in or you miss the playoffs, and your pick jumps up to the top 3 pick, just like it did for the Rockets with us, right? Stop putting yourself in a position for that. Just take one more
I would
season.
argue that if I
of
have this year's pick, so let's say it's a top 5 pick,
Mhm.
which I truly believe it's going to be. I think it's going to be a top 3 pick, but let's just say it's a top 5 pick. So worst case scenario, we get Fears and Zion. I think we have our 7-8 year window. I think we've just opened up that window of where we can be a respectable. I get it. At that point in time, with just Fears and Zion and nothing else, we're not very good. But we have something, right? The same way that 2 years ago, Houston had something. The same way that last year, even though Detroit was horrible, they had something. They had Cade Cunningham. He was hurt, but you knew he was a special player. Like, if the Nets get Zion Williamson, I agree, they're not good next year. But you have the foundation. You have the foundation built. Now you can start building the rest of the house. Right now, they have nothing, right? Like they don't even have like an attic. They have absolutely nothing.
Well, you're building the basement and the living area with this year's draft, and you're finishing off, the second story in the attic with next year's draft. That's how I see it. Because to me, again, you get Zion, you're devaluing your pick next year, even if you are able to keep it in a Zion trade, which I don't think you are, right? So not only are you putting yourself further out of a top tier lottery pick by getting Zion, but you're also putting yourself in a position to not even have a pick next year because we don't have one outside of our own. So if you're trading that one, you're now putting yourself in a position where you're holding the franchise's value at the hands of Zion. And to me, what does that do? Like he hasn't been able to do it in New Orleans where he's played alongside DeJounte Murray for a short period of time, Brandon Ingram for a large sample size.
He's had no shortage of talent. He's played on some pretty good rosters.
There's really no. Like, does he impact the game of winning when he's healthy? Yes. But does he do it for long periods of time where he can be sustainable and stay healthy? No. And to me, the biggest impact outside of Mikal Bridges, who's pretty much proven this theory wrong, but availability is the most valuable asset a player can have. And especially at the star level, right? You see guys like Giannis who are playing 60-plus games a year, and their teams are consistently contending. You see Jason Tatum, who consistently plays 35-plus minutes a night on the best team in the NBA, and they're constantly winning. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander,
Brunson,
injuries, right? Yeah. Like, and these are guys who are constantly winning. You need guys who are at, to me, if you put a guy who's a top 25 player on a team, you're not going anywhere. You need a top 10 player in basketball to be able to contend, truly, right? Paolo's entering that potential top 10 stage. So there's guys that you need to win, and Zion's not one of them to me. Cam Thomas, to me, is no more than a third option on a winning team. And that's being nice. Like, I really don't think he is an impactful player in terms of winning on a contender. We've seen him be able to score here and there on a bad team, right? But you didn't see any 40-plus games from him this season, whether it was injuries or not. He kind of declined in the sense that his high upside scoring, which he had the year previously with Mikal Bridges, he didn't have that this year. And whether you want to blame injuries or not, he just didn't produce as highly as we had thought he would when he was healthy. So to me, him being a star, not really in my cards. I don't think he's at that level.
Yeah, I never thought he'd be a star. I thought he'd be a star scorer. And he never really played more than 30, 32 minutes in a game. He didn't have any 40-point games this year. I wanted him to set the single season record for most shots attempted. That was my goal for him this year. Just, The only thing I wanted was it to be the Cam Thomas show, and either it was going to work and he was going to be a star, or it wasn't, and then we wouldn't have to pay him a lot of money. Nothing went according to plan this year. Right? I just wanted to see Clowney and Cam Thomas and nothing else at all this year. And they both got hurt. They both missed most of the season. And then Clowney came back and he got injured again. He was terrible after the injury. Nothing went well this year.
And I wanted to pull this up because this is kind of like what we just discussed, right? It doesn't matter if you keep the pick next year. Getting Zion ultimately puts you out of the lottery, most likely. It likely puts you in the 10 through 16 pick range, and you're not bumping up the top 3 with that. I hate to break it to you. It's not going to happen.
I want to talk about next year's pick before we get back to the roster.
Mm-hmm.
You have more faith in next year's pick than I do. I think if we're just going to do this again and we're going to win 30 games again, let's trade the pick. Right? Like, just trade it for a player. It's better than sitting there and drafting 8. Right? Like, you're drafting in no man's land. If we're just going to do this again, and we're not going to tank, and they're not going to commit to rebuilding, and they're not going to trade Cam Johnson, and they're not going to trade Claxton, if they're just going to sit here and be non-committal, just trade the pick. Because people will look at that pick next year and be like, oh, the Nets are going to suck. We can get one of these stars. We can get Boozer. We can get the band, whatever. I'm going to take this pick. I value this pick. If you're not going to value it, just trade it. If you're going to do again next year what you did this year, just trade the pick.
But in your scenario, is Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton on the team?
Cam Johnson somehow played every game this year for this team, or was on the roster every game. So my guess is yes. To me, if they are gone by August, in no world do you even think of move. I don't even think you look to move that pick whether they're on the roster or not. Like, realistically, I agree. If they're both gone, I don't trade the pick. Right? Then I'm really fully committed to the tank. If they're both still here, just trade the pick. You're not taking it seriously. We're just doing what we did this year. To me, we continue to go down this pattern constantly over and over again, where not only as fans, but in the front office, everybody is so impatient on trying to do things the right way. Like, it does not matter who you add. You can add Giannis to this roster tomorrow, and it is an 8th seed. And it is likely a first-round exit at best. It's 100%. Right? There's not a single top 4 teams they can beat. They can't beat Orlando. Let's be serious. No, you can add Zion this offseason with this current roster, and if he plays 45 games, you are likely an end-of-lottery play-in team, if not just outside the lottery as a 7th seed and making the playoffs and being a first-round exit. All scenarios point to not doing shit. Right? It all points to being a middle tier team, and the worst place to be in sports is in the middle. We've seen us be in the middle with teams with our own picks, and our own picks have been successful for them. We've seen it where we don't have when we do have our pick, and it's not in the top 3, and it doesn't work out for us. Right? We've seen every scenario besides the one that we continue to talk about, and the one that we were so on board with just a year ago when we traded Mikal Bridges, which was stay the course, go 2 years with a rebuild. You're already done with the first year. Whether we liked it or not, it's already done, and you're going to be able to draft players this year, something that the Nets really don't get the chance to do, especially in the lottery, which we have not done since being in Brooklyn. If you can just stay the fucking course one more year, it's done. We don't have to talk about the draft anymore. We don't have our own pick in 2027, right? We have a top 8 protected pick from the 76ers in 2027. If Embiid shits himself again next year, he's likely gone. Paul George likely hitting a retirement home. Tyrese Maxey can't lead you to win. That top 8 pick is likely going back to Philly, right? So you don't have a lot of draft capital moving forward. Use this year and next, get this shit over with, and then move in on a star afterwards. I feel like it's not a hard process to deal with, especially when you have no chance of winning a championship over the next year or two. Like, you really don't. It doesn't matter who you add. Would you prefer to be a bottom tier team with an opportunity at 2 top 5 picks back-to-back years, like Boston did with our own, or would you prefer to be a middle of the ground play-in team without our own picks? Yeah, I don't want to be the Bulls. I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to be a 7th seed. Problem. Right. Yeah, and that's the exact problem, because the difference is between us and a team like Philly or New Orleans, who has great rosters but had injuries, is we could still be injured and somehow Jordy could get us to 35 wins.
with a Zion or with a Jan. It doesn't matter who you add. If you add a star next to him and they play 40 games, you're winning 25, 30 of those. It doesn't matter. So to me, it's not even worth trying to go after these guys. One more year of dog shit production from this organization, and you're put in a position where you could have 10 years of long-term winning success. I feel like that's that's a
Dylan
window that
sells
we've never
it well. Like if I had to hire someone to sell the tank, Dylan sells it well. I would hire you. You can sell the tank. Here's the problem. I'm watching Tyrese Martin and I'm watching Keon Johnson and I'm watching the worst roster in the NBA, probably worse than Washington, and I'm watching them win 30 games.
But remember, where were those? What did the Nets do in the first half of the season?
They were 9. They were 500
by the All-Star break. By the All-Star break, they were close to already beating, if not already had beaten, their projection on win-loss ratio. Yeah, right. That
gone. Was mostly in the first 20 games because they got real bad after that. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you get rid of your Dennis Schroeders and your DFS and your Cam Johnsons and your Nick Claxtons prior to the season, like I was begging them to do, then you don't see that. You can get rid of.
We have to live in the reality that Sean Marks doesn't want to trade Cam Johnson. Maybe he will.
Yeah, but the problem is this is the exact shit that we saw last year with Mikal Bridges. Oh, I don't want to trade him. He's gonna be a star. He's gonna be great. We can build around him. He's cool. He does funny, 3-point celebrations. Nobody gives a shit because at the time when he was offered 6 first-round picks, he didn't think twice, right? So to me, again, it depends on if a team can come in and really just offer something that Marks either A, likes, or B, understands he needs to do, so this way he can move on and just get the shit over with. Playing this middle-of-the-road bullshit that he's been doing for years has not worked for us. Trying to build half-ass contenders around KD and Kyrie with players like Mike James and Blake Griffin at the end of his career, that's not winning. It didn't win. It didn't do anything. You refused to move off of guys like Joe Harris, who was eating up cap space and shooting 1 for 8 from 3 in the playoffs. He's made all these mistakes, whether it's by being shit with no picks, having superstars, or having your own picks and being shit. He has not done a single thing correctly. So again, if they want to take this shit seriously, and I said that I was going to try and be better with the language, but I'm back in New York, so I might as well just let it fly. No, realistically, he hasn't done a damn thing right. So why are we even trying to give him any form of ammunition to try and mess this up? Beat it to a dead horse. I'm not going to get taken off of what I believe is right because I've seen it work for every other franchise. Houston was able to rebuild through picks. They didn't get the number 1 overall pick, but Jalen Green is a top 5 pick. Alperen Sengun is a top 10 pick. Amen Thompson is a top 5 pick. Right? They have lottery picks. They have guys who they have built a roster around. They are the 2nd seed in the West, competing with the Golden State Warriors, right? OKC, they traded for their superstar, who was nowhere even close to a star level player when they got him, molded him into a superstar, and we're still able to draft top 10 picks in Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, right? Boston used our picks. They were both top 3. They landed their 2 superstars. They've won a championship. It doesn't matter how you get the pick, whether it's traded for or whether it's your own. Take that shit seriously. Because why were we taking Milwaukee's pick this year and the Knicks pick this year more seriously than we were our own? And that's the exact problem that Sean Marks has.
I agree, but the reality is Sean Marks is still here. Like I'm not using the Jets as a signing example. The Jets blew up.
No, the Nets are the Jets. We can get there.
But they're not. The Nets are worse. The Jets looked at their roster and said, this team can't win a Super Bowl. I can try to be 500-ish with Aaron Rodgers. I can try to fix the holes in the defense and go 500 with Aaron Rodgers. Or I can send Aaron Rodgers out, bring Justin Fields in, and I have 2 situations. A, he sucks, and I just draft my quarterback next year. Okay. Or he's good, and I have my quarterback of the future. But a decision was made. With the Nets, there's no decision made, right? I always say there's more lost to indecision than ever lost due to bad decision. It's not making a decision on what we are, right? And Sean Marks has been the most indecisive GM. What are we doing? Like, why? We talked about this all season. Why is Cam Johnson here? And he's going to be here because Sean Marks likes him. And Sean Marks kind of wants to rebuild, but he kind of wants to keep Cam Johnson. He kind of wants to keep Nick Claxton. It's like, make up your mind. Either keep Cam Johnson and say, my goal is to be 500. I'm going to operate like a small market team. Or get rid of all of them and say, we're going to be terrible. This is going to be painful, but we're ripping the Band-Aid off and we're going to suck, but we're going to try to get AJ Debinsa or Boozer or whoever else next year. And that's just the way it's going to be. But like what I'm saying is we're sitting here in no man's land. I agree with you, right? Like I would take a 10-win season, another 12-70 season to get Debinsa. I would sign up for it right now. But
I'd give up a kidney. Kidneys go for $30K on the black market. I'd give that
Marks
shit up for
isn't
free
doing that
if it means getting that.
Marks isn't there. Marks wants to kind of compete, I guess. I don't really know, right? So like,
I think we kind of went over this though, and it doesn't seem like Marks is the one that wants to compete. It's Joe Tsai. Like this is kind of where the heads clash. Where and I don't give a lot of defense to Marks whatsoever, but you've heard it in what he has said, which is wanting to build long-term sustainable winning, financial flexibility, take his time. It's going to be exciting drafting picks this year. Like you've heard him say this, and then you also saw a report that says Joe Tsai and Giannis would love this, ticket sales, yada yada. Like to me, it is clearly Joe Tsai trying to push any form of acceleration on this rebuild possible, which is why, again, I have said numerous times, he is one of the worst owners in sports. He does not know what he is doing. He is absolute dog shit. I will say that over and over and over again until he is gone. But to me, this is all on Tsai. If Marks had a set, and you know what I mean, he would do this shit properly because his job's secure. I mean, how many times can you mess up within a 10-year span?
His job is secure because he's a lapdog. His job is, if he stood up and did what was right for the franchise, he could be fired.
But even then, at that point, it's done. You can't unsolve that, right? You draft picks. Those picks are gone, right? You can't just trade all of those draft picks for Giannis because the caps, the financials don't match up. You don't have as much valuable picks to go after a Giannis. Like, just do what you need to do. And, if you get fired later, get fired. I don't give a shit. That'd be great for us.
I would, because I believe that, I believe in myself. I'm good at what I do. If I get fired, I'll just get hired somewhere else. And
Alex says it best. Alex says it best. The one thing that Marks is good at, fans and ownership is trying to take away from him. Like, how many times are we going to go with drafting solid role players in the late 20s and being like, oh my God, he knows how to draft gems, and not give him an opportunity to draft a star?
Can we be honest? He's not that great. It's his strength.
Realistically,
he's not that good at it. He's not
realistically. LeVert, Jared Allen, Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton. Like, these are all solid role players, high caliber role players.
Exactly.
And that's great value though if you're looking at the picks that they've had. Like in the 20s, you're really not expecting a guy who's in the league for more than 6 years. Like
here's
really
my point.
How it is.
I said I would have
landed a few. I'm cool with that. Like, just go and get the top 10, the top 5s, and see if he can find these stars.
Here's my point. I said I wanted to bring LeVert back, and you made a face at me. That's the value of Caris LeVert. Like, LeVert, you want to bring him back? Like, I'm not. I love LeVert. He's not an impact player. Jared Allen is a really good pick. Jared Allen fell because people thought he didn't like basketball. He fell in your lap. He was supposed to be a lottery pick. I watched him every game at Texas. I said, this is a guy that can change a game defensively. There was a narrative out there. He's a computer nerd. He doesn't like basketball. He's not dedicated to basketball. He's never going to develop any offensive game, and he's not going to give you max effort on defense, so he's useless in the NBA. That narrative followed him, and he fell to the Nets. Okay. He didn't want to draft Cam Thomas. Kevin Durant made him draft Cam Thomas, right? Like,
that was more Jeff Peterson and KD. Yeah.
This narrative that he's a great draft picker really doesn't, when you really examine it. I'm not saying
great, no. Good, yes. Like, for the picks that he's had and the value that he's gotten, he pretty much hits on one out of every other 2 picks in terms of a role player in the 20s. And I'm fine with that. Like, Noah Clowney, injuries aside, solid pick for that range, right? Dariq Whitehead, miss. Rodness Kirkos, or whatever his name is, miss. Caris LeVert, Jared Allen, Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton, hit. Like, he has a good hit rate. It's just he hasn't been able to be put in a position to draft a star. Like, you are not finding a star outside of the top 10 9 out of 10 times. So I'm not giving him benefit of the doubt or like shitting on his name because he hasn't been able to find a star in the 20s or 30s. Like, realistically, first year ever that we're in Brooklyn having the opportunity to draft a lottery pick, right? So give him the opportunity. Let him see what he can do, because if he's able to find a way to somehow shut me up and find the value that Cam Johnson that he thinks is real, that a team randomly comes in and offers and he accepts, if he's able to do that, they're not winning games next year. Like, even with those guys on the roster, you're bringing in 4 to 5 young rookie players. You're losing at least 5 more games than you did this year, just off the bat from having that, right? If you keep the current roster how it is and you add 4 to 5 rookies, you are losing 5 less games than you, or 5 more games than you did this year. Automatically.
Okay, you don't know. What if Cam Thomas plays all 82 next year? What if, you know what I'm saying? What if Clowney plays all 82 next year?
I'm looking at Cam Thomas, who is a very, very mediocre at best, if not really bad defender. A guy who can't really make that well, at least consistently. A guy who can't shoot the ball efficiently, consistently, unless if he's shooting high volume for 30, in which he's still shooting inefficiently, under 43%. That's not helping me win games much.
Yeah, but like DeMarcus Cousins said, it's easier to score 30 on a good team than it is on a bad team, because you are the game plan. Like
but that's the thing. If you're scoring 30 on a bad team, you're likely losing, and it's because either A, your guys aren't performing around you, or B, you're shooting it inefficiently and shot chucking so you can get your 30. Like, either way, both times it results in losses most of the time. Like, realistically, let's just how about this, right? In this scenario, are you bringing back D'Lo or are you bringing back Zaire? Realistically,
I want to get into this. This was the kind of like the topic of the show that I wanted to get into. So let's this is a perfect segue right here. All right, let's start with those two guys. You think Claxton's going to be gone by opening day, right?
I think one of Johnson or Claxton is a definite gone. Okay. Hopefully both. I still think there's a world both are gone, but let's just say for now, one of the two are gone.
I don't even care what we get for Claxton.
Me neither.
Just get him off the roster. It's like Ben Simmons. Just make him go bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right.
I still think it's a great deal for Rui, Gabe Vincent in a first for Claxton. I think that's more than enough. You're getting 2 expiring contracts. You're freeing up $65 million worth of cap space over the next 3 years, and you're getting another first to add into a potential trade later on. Like, that's great value for a guy who averages 9 and 8.
All right, so let me go through some of these names, and you tell me whether or not you want them back and whether or not you think they will be back, right? Because those are 2 different things.
Yep.
All right, so we're done. Noah Clowney will obviously be back next year. Derek Whitehead, where are the names I want to get into? Zaire Williams, do you want him back?
I want him
back. And
do
you think he will be back?
Surprisingly, with what I've seen, I'm going to actually say no, he's not going to be back. Only I had seen something with Brian Lewis who said that like Zaire wasn't a priority. Like, it's just something that they're not, like, if the price isn't too high, then they're like really not looking at it. So
you want to respond
to
me?
Me,
it says, "Holy shit! Look at that roster."
Yeah, welcome to 2015, everyone.
Oh man!
But this is what people think can contend if they just get a superstar. Like, it's pathetic. Do I want Zaire back? Yes. Do I think he's going to be back? I'm 50-50.
The only thing on this roster is the worst contract in basketball, maybe, in Nick Claxton, and an overpaid Cam Johnson. The rest of this is G League players. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's that bad.
It's horrible.
When you look at it, it might be, we might be in worse position than Washington. It's close. Like, that's how bad this is.
We don't have a Bilal Coulibaly. We don't have an Alex Sarr. We don't have a Bud Carrington. So yeah, we are in a much worse. We are in the worst position in basketball.
We do have cap space though, right?
But it's in a year that you don't want to spend it.
Here's my question though: if you could trade roster and picks to Washington, we give them all our picks and our roster, and they give us their picks and their roster. Would you make that trade?
No.
That's what I'm saying, right? And every other team in the league, you would.
But see, that's the thing, though. It's like, if you're trading the roster with the picks, okay, you would have to expect if Washington lands a top 4 pick this year, they're going to improve next year. So their picks automatically are not as valuable as our next year's pick would be, say, if we do move Cam Johnson or Nick Claxton or both. So it's like, is Washington in a better position for themselves right now? Yes. If you were to flip that, and give that to us, does it put us in a better position? No, because the difference between being in a good position in Washington and Brooklyn is completely different. Washington just wants to get a couple of wins. They want to just be a play-in team at some point in time. Brooklyn, at some point in time, wants to contend for championships. They have the higher market. They have the more upside. They have the stars who want to be here. So to me, it kind of contradicts itself. To me, Washington's in a better position for themselves currently than Brooklyn is for themselves. I'll stand on that. I think Brooklyn's in a worse position in basketball.
I was a part of this dialogue with a Nets fan. It's a legitimate Nets fan who said he wouldn't want to trade Giannis if it meant trading. He wouldn't want to trade for Giannis if it meant trading Claxton. Your response to that?
I pray every night I never reach the level of delusion that some of you people do. I do. Because the day that I do, I'm checking myself into an insane asylum. Because this is pure mental illness. It's genuinely disgusting.
All right. I want to
seek help for yourself. Help yourself. It's disgusting.
Guys, please smash the like button. So, you guys, if you think Zaire's gone, that would be unfortunate. I mean, look, it's Zaire. I think he's a rotational guy. I think he's a backup player. I think he has a role on a playoff team. I think there'll be teams interested in him. Like, if you could have Zaire, if you're a playoff team and you could have Zaire play 20 minutes a game off the bench, I'd sign up for that. I would take that. So I think he'll have offers. Who
are we talking about?
Zaire, yeah.
Well, he's a restricted free agent. So,
right.
Like, yeah, do I think he's going to get some offers? Of course. But again, when you're looking at
the Nets are going to match him.
Well, not even that. When you're looking at the cap space amongst teams around the league, a lot of those teams are focusing on bringing back some of their guys and then, of course, adding one guy at the mid-level exception level. Does Zaire fall in some of that range? Yes. The only other team that I can see competing for Zaire is Detroit because they have a little bit of cap space. Like, that's really it. So outside of that, does Brooklyn offer?
Name a lot. You don't think Denver would want if Denver doesn't break
Denver's
it up?
Above the second apron. They can't. Denver's above the second apron. They have no opportunity of doing anything. All they can do is bring back their own guys, or they'd have to trade Michael Porter Jr. for contracts that are far less than what that is, and to a team that has cap space. And again, who's the only team that has cap space? Brooklyn. So does Brooklyn want Michael Porter Jr.'s $35 million contract so this way they can trade Cam Johnson and sign and trade Zaire Williams to them? No. They're screwed. Denver, I already have the Lakers as pinned as a suitor for Jokic when the time comes because he's a free agent soon. LeBron's on his way out. The contract that LeBron has will free up the cap space to bring in a guy like Jokic. Like, I'm just saying, it's there. Also, 42 minutes ago, this is from ESPN. Giannis Antetokounmpo remains happy in Milwaukee and deeply respects Damian Lillard. Good sign for us.
Damian Lillard's not playing next year. Can we be honest?
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Like, he tore his ACL. It looks freakishly similar to Aaron Rodgers, where he grabbed his leg. Like, that's not a sprained ankle. That's just not good, right? Yeah. All right. The next name I want to get to, D'Angelo Russell. You think you want Zaire back? You don't think he is going to be back?
I'm 50-50 on Zaire. I'm not going to say that he's not going to be back because I kind of just contradicted myself by saying that the cap space, not many teams have cap space. So realistically, the Nets should be able to bring him back. But I'm still 50-50 on it based on the Brian Lewis report. So if I had to pick one or the other, I think he would be back.
Okay. About 8 million, 10 million. Is that what we're looking at?
I think you're closer to about 11 to 13. High caliber role player.
Okay. I still bring him back at that price. Let's cut that in the middle. Let's say 12. I'd bring him back at 12. Yeah. Gary, make one of your hot girl analogy about how every team is going to be calling Sean Marks to make a trade. He's going to tell you hot girl. Maybe they don't. The Nets don't have any package. Like when we were even entertaining the thought of trading for Ja or trading for Freak. If anyone else calls up, you're out because you don't have anything. Your picks aren't what you think they are, and you have no players anybody wants. So your picks are overrated, and you have no good players. Like that's a problem when you're trying to make a trade. That you have no good picks and no good players. That's an issue. The only good pick you have potentially is this year's pick. Like, that's not enough to, and I don't want to trade that for anybody. So, all right, D'Angelo Russell. I know he's
No.
going to be back,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
Do I want him? God, no. Is he going to be back? Again, 50-50. If he's willing to take a major pay cut and come back on a short-term deal that's still a tradable contract, yes, I see Sean Marks being like, look, our golden age guy is back. But if he's asking for a bit of money and a long-term contract, I don't see him being back. Am I going to say that he's not going to be back? No, I think he will. Do I want him back? God, no.
Is it safe to say that the Nets are having a hot girl summer? No, they're having a fat guy summer where everyone laughs
Yeah,
out.
they're having a Zion Williamson summer.
I just don't like the Nets don't have anything anyone would want. Like the Nets are the fat, hairy guy who walks around on the beach with a gold chain saying, "Hey, girls, look at me." It's like no one is interested in that.
Yeah,
Nobody.
the gold chain, fat guy in a Speedo.
Yeah, that's the Nets right. That's the Nets this summer. Nobody is interested in that.
The Nets are like that Instagram poll where it's like, who wants me? And it's 100% no on the poll. Like, nobody wants us. Nobody wants you. You have a dog shit product, and you have an even worse upper management that forms that dog shit product. So, again, draft this year, stay the course this year, draft next year, do whatever the fuck you want after that.
But you keep saying stay the course, and in principle, I agree with you. I just the course that we're on this year? You want to stay on that course?
I don't think this course can be duplicated by adding 4 young prospects. I just don't see it.
I get your argument. You're going to add 4 young players. They're going to play 25, 30 minutes a game, 70 games this year. You're going to lose a ton of games on inexperience.
Yep.
Okay. What happens when they sign Jonathan Kuminga in the offseason?
He's proven nothing. He can't even play on a he can't even be in the rotation on a playoff team. Why would I think that he's going to impact the game of winning when Golden State won't even allow him to play in impactful games?
He's going to
impact.
Do I
want him? No.
He's going to impact winning more than Tyrese Martin and Keon Johnson. Like he's gonna, and they won 30 games. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, let me ask you: if they start 10-9 again next year, like they did this year, how you feeling?
Probably gonna do what I did exactly this year and stop watching the games.
Yeah, you know,
I have no desire to watch mediocrity and piss poor products. Like, I'm here to watch young players develop. I'm here to watch a team who is on the right path to having a 10-year window of success and gradually building off of that year after year while being able to maintain assets, acquire assets, and be put in a position where you could trade for a superstar like OKC could and still have a boatload of draft capital to still improve the roster. That's what I'll watch. If young guys are winning games, like I've said before, so be it. If they draft Jeremiah Fears and he hits a half-court buzzer beater to make us 6-4 to start the season, oh well, I'm cool with that. But if it's Cam Johnson's and Nick Claxton's with putback lobs off of misses to win games against Philly, or if it's Cam Johnson hitting corner threes after shooting 2 of 19 to start the game, I don't want to see it. I have no desire to.
Remember, Sean Marks said this was a 1-year tank. Those are his words, not mine. He said this was a 1-year tank and a quick rebuild.
Where did
he say when they made the Bridges trade?
Did he really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fireable offense number 643.
I like if it were me and you running the team, he would have been fired years ago, right? But there's only everybody hates Sean Marks except for one person, Joe Tsai. And guess what? Joe Tsai's opinion is the only one that matters, right?
I wouldn't say just one person.
Yeah, Mark is in the chat. Yeah, Mark is in the chat. So 2 people. Mark Harrigan Tsai is Joe Tsai's illegitimate son. Who? Here's a name I want to address, which we never got to see in a Nets uniform. DeAnthony Melton, is he back next year?
No, gone.
No shot.
Not a chance.
Okay.
Not a single chance in this world.
He's been a decent player on decent teams.
It's funny because he was actually a player last offseason that I had pinned as a potential Nets trade or free agent target. I absolutely love his game. I think he's solid, but he missed a full season. He's making $12.8 million. I'm not duplicating that offer nor giving him half of that offer. Goodbye.
Who would you rather have, Zaire or DeAnthony Melton?
Zaire by far.
Okay. All right, that's fair. All right. The next name, this is going to be a topic of debate. Day'Ron Sharpe.
Personally, yes, bring back. Do I think he'll be back? Yes. I don't see, again, where he can leave. Like, unless if we offer him a qualifying offer and a team matches that qualifying offer and the Nets have no desire to bring him back, I just don't see a world where he doesn't come back. You can have a potential 20 to 28 minute a night type of guy who has shown the progression as a floor spacer, right? He was able to knock down threes much better than any point in Nick Claxton's career. He was able to outperform some of the best centers in basketball in terms of rebounding. His defense improved this year. To me, if you can get him for that 9 to 12 million mark as a backup big, that's great value. Even if he has to start next year, if you trade Nick Claxton, great value. You're losing more games, but you're also seeing a young guy develop more. I'm cool with it. So to me, I think Day'Ron should be back. I do think he will be back. I just don't see why they wouldn't, especially having so much roster space and cap space. I don't see why he shouldn't be back.
I think let me address that, because they're going to draft a center who's going to make less money than Day'Ron Sharpe, and they're going to, let's say it's Sorber with the 20th pick in it's 20th
19.
pick, right? We got 19th pick in the draft. We draft Sorber there. I'm already paying my center of the future, Nick Claxton, $25 million. I got Sorber as my backup. I just where are the minutes that justify me bringing back Day'Ron Sharpe?
Like I said, I think Claxton's gone. I think Claxton's more likely to be gone than Cam Johnson is. So to me, if you let's just look at it, right? Next year, Claxton's going to make $23 million. If you can bring back Sharpe on, let's just say $12 million a year, right? You're already getting a potential starting big man at the fraction of the cost of Claxton. You're bringing in a rookie, whether that's Derek Queen or Kaman Malawak with the 5 through 7 pick, making, say $5 to $6 million a year, which again, both of those contracts combined with Sharpe doesn't even add up to what Claxton's making currently. Or whether that's Sorber at 19, where you're paying him $3.5 to $4 million. Again, a total of 16 to 18 million that you could be giving two big men compared to the one that you're paying 23 million to next season. Do it. It's a fraction of the cost. You're saving cap space. You're moving forward with higher upside guys. Sharpe, to me, already has higher upside than Claxton. Claxton just turned 26. His offensive ability has not improved. His defensive ability has declined, right? He still cannot put on weight. He still cannot guard a true center. He gets bitched by, Jalen Duren and Bismack Biyombo, and he gets murdered by these guys. Why would I want that on my roster any longer?
Well,
cool.
you don't. The only question is, can you get someone who's willing to take on a salary?
I think the Lakers are that team.
That's one team I've looked at.
Like again, why would both sides not want this? You free up $65 million over the next 3 years in Brooklyn by getting Hachimura and Vincent on expiring contracts. The Lakers get their starting big man and an incredible fit next to Luka Doncic through the pick and roll and a high caliber defensive player. Win-win. Like, that's a great offer. I do see it happening. Like, if there's one thing this offseason I can almost say is certain, I think that it's the Lakers heavily pursuing and getting Claxton.
Let me address you. You said who wouldn't want to make that trade. I agree with you. It's the one trade I think that can get made. Golden State potentially, but I really just look at the Lakers as the only suitors. Like maybe Golden State, but I want to address what you said. I'm going to make an argument. I'm going to play devil's advocate for both teams. Here's why the Nets wouldn't want to make it. I'm not trading my future center who had a bad season for 2 salary dumps. I'm not doing it. I believe in Claxton. There's a reason why I signed him to a $100 million contract. I'm not trading him to dump salary. That's why the Nets would say no. The Lakers would say no is because he's on the worst contract in basketball. I can get better value for lesser money. That would be the reason. Like, I don't know if they can. Like, I don't know what other center the Nets, the Lakers could realistically get.
I mean, I gave you the names, right? Like, it was Mark Williams.
But they already said no to that.
That got messed up. Walker Kessler, Danny Ainge, and Walker Kessler themselves have both said they're committed to getting a long-term deal done. I don't think Kessler is going to be available. Robert Williams, worse injury history, not as good of a defender. Can't stay healthy.
Better rebounder though. Better
rebounder. But again, what do you want? 14 games a season of Robert Williams with bad knees, or do you want Nick Claxton who can guard the perimeter and block shots and be a good lob threat next to Luka? Like, to me, it's obvious as day. Like, I'm a big pattern person, and when you see certain patterns continue on, right? I said it a month before the trade deadline. People called bullshit on me. What happened? Nick Claxton's name got brought up at the trade deadline, like I had reported. I said it again after the trade deadline. And I even said it before the trade deadline. I said that he wasn't going to get traded, but his name was going to be brought back up in the offseason. What's happening? The Lakers are already showing interest in him, knowing that they missed out on Mark Williams, and Walker Kessler is likely not an option. Luka Doncic has a good relationship with him. He respects him. He wants him. It's going to happen if the Nets just say yes. So, to me, I'm a big pattern guy. The pattern and the evidence is showing a direction of the Lakers pursuing and acquiring Claxton. So to me, I'm going to stay on
pursuing. Yeah, I'm being honest. I think if anyone, you're not going to guys that are going to like this. Maybe Mark will. I think if anyone shoots down a Claxton to the Lakers trade, it's Sean Marks. I honestly believe that because he wants to be right. He believes in Nick Claxton. He likes Nick Claxton, and he doesn't want to be wrong and trade Nick Claxton for a salary dump. I'm not, guys, don't get mad at me. Dylan's talking about patterns. He didn't trade Joe Harris. Like, there's a pattern of when he likes someone, he believes in that guy and doesn't trade him. I'm not saying, like, that's my inkling. Like, a Claxton trade very well could get done to the Lakers. I think if it doesn't get done, the reason it didn't get done is because Sean Marks overvalues Nick Claxton. That's my honest opinion.
Agree with that. Yeah, I can agree with him overvaluing him. But again, how many times are you going to overvalue a player and it shits the bed? Like, how many times are you going to have to give up second-round picks to move off of contracts that you could have gotten a first or two back 3 years ago, right? Joe Harris, you could have gotten some value for after the 2021 playoffs. He didn't. Patty Mills, you probably didn't have to attach second-round picks to him if you just got rid of him a year prior. He didn't. You know, DFS, you could have gotten 2 protected first, maybe an unprotected first. You got nothing. Dennis Schroeder, you probably could have gotten a protected first, you know, during the offseason. You didn't. You traded him at, you know, mid-season for seconds. Like, he doesn't do anything right. I agree. But at some point, that means you kind of have to do something right, right? Like, how many times can you fuck up? It's like when in life, right? You can be at the top, and within a month, you got 4 different things that shoots you right back down to the bottom. But eventually, you have to get back up.
If there's no consequence for bad action, and this is the difference between men and women. Men don't have, if men make a bad decision, they have to live with the outcome of their bad decision. Women don't have to. Women get sent for. Women, I'll pay you. I'll pay your bills. I'll do this. Women constantly get bailed out of bad decisions. Men don't. If men make bad decisions, that's why you talk to a man like a man. Like, look, if you do this, X, Y, and Z is going to happen. Sean Marks gets treated like a hot chick. It's like, oh, if you mess all this up, don't worry, I'll pay your bills. Don't worry, I'll buy your car. Don't worry, I'll buy. He constantly gets treated like a hot chick. I don't know why. He does, though. Like, when I'm saying, if there's no consequence for your bad action, why not keep repeating the bad action? If someone's going to bail you out of it, if your job is safe, no matter how bad you do, right? Like, you're a 10 out of 10. And, like, if this guy dumps you, like, there's going to be another guy that pays your bills, right?
Yeah.
That's the Sean Marks' relationship with the Nets. Is like, he's been the hot chick that Joe Tsai just keeps around as a trophy. It's what he's doing. So when there's no consequence for Sean Marks' bad action, why stop making bad? Why not? Why would you stop making bad decisions? Like, what's the repercussion for Sean Marks if he makes a bad decision? Nothing.
No, nothing at all. And I just wanted to bring this comment up too, because I'm so glad you brought this up. Are you talking about the broken ankle that they hid for 4 months up until the last month of the season, where they finally said he was out for the season? Get the fuck out of here. They could have gotten value for him because nobody knew he was actually hurt, and they were bullshitting his way through the season, giving false hope that he would actually play come playoff time. They are liars. He still had value. You could have moved him in the offseason prior to his ankle injury. He got hurt in the offseason with his ankle injury, right? Didn't he get hurt during offseason workouts?
Yeah.
Could have traded him before that. No excuses. Next question.
I want to go back to one thing, because you said 50-50 D'Lo is back. I think D'Lo's coming back. I think it's 80-20 he's back. You're saying, okay, would he be willing to take lesser money? Who's offering? Did you see the season he had? They couldn't trade him. I would say I'm 80% certain D'Lo is coming back. But what salary do you think would bring him back? Just the mid-level exception, right?
I wouldn't waste that on him.
I wouldn't either. But
I give him $1 year $8 million. 1 year $8 million. Take it or leave it. go find better if you can.
That's
That's me
50%.
personally.
See, like that's a 50% pay cut from what he made last year, right? But
I mean,
my
his
only question
production
is,
his production has
yeah,
dropped 50% based on the last time he was
it
here.
was
So yeah,
horrible.
I
Yeah.
mean, realistically, you shouldn't be here.
Does anyone offer him more than that? I don't think so. So I think he's back. I think 1 year, 8 million, 1 year, about that is right. I think they give Zaire Williams, I think they give D'Angelo Russell, Zaire Williams money, just like they gave Patty Mills, Bruce Brown's money. I think they make the wrong decision here and give the $10-12 million to D'Angelo Russell, not Zaire Williams.
In all honesty, if Orlando misses out on Trae Young and John Morant, like I could see them going for a D'Lo through free agency.
Maybe.
I could see a team like Toronto trying to go after him in free agency. I could see maybe
Toronto's interesting. Okay,
maybe Memphis. Like maybe Memphis
Toronto
goes
still
for him
have,
if
does
they trade
Toronto
John
have the
Morant.
money to do? How does Toronto still have money? Do they still have money?
But again, is it really up to if they have money, or is it all right if Brooklyn says no, he has to go find elsewhere? So I'm kind of just giving those elsewhere options.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
To me, there's like maybe 3 or 4 teams outside of Brooklyn that would pursue him. But again, I don't think he gets anything money wise. Like he shouldn't. He doesn't deserve it.
The problem with D'Angelo Russell is if a playoff team is going to make a run at him, they have to know they're getting a bad playoff player who can't defend, is soft as Charmin, and just doesn't play well in the play. Like he was a number 1 option for the Nets in the playoffs. He was terrible. He went to Minnesota and was a secondary option, and he was terrible. He went to the Lakers and was a true role player, and he was even worse, right? Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's soft as Charmin, right? And there's a reason why he's that bad in the playoffs, because he's super soft and can't defend. Yeah. So, yeah, he can help me in the regular season. But if I'm a playoff team, now Toronto is just trying to get in the playoffs, so they may give him a 1-year deal just to get there. I agree with that. Yeah. But if you're like Detroit or Orlando, I'm going to make the playoffs with or without him. Do I really want him on my roster in the playoffs? That's the question that they have to answer.
Yeah. By the way, Mark, one bad 3-point percentage, one bad series. How did that turn out? Sucked after forever. Get on top of the problems before the problems get worse. This is basic problem solving. You see one bad thing, move on. Not hard. They moved on from Kyrie the first second he asked for a trade request. They moved on from KD the moment that they knew they couldn't get him help. Jump on these problems earlier. Why does he suck off role players like there's no tomorrow?
The problem with D'Lo is that he's D'Lo, and that's a fair critique. But he's got a job with the Brooklyn Nets. I can promise you that. Right? Like you go to Texas, the University of Texas, and Vince Young can do whatever he wants there. He won a national championship there, and that's why. But 20 years later, it's like Vince Young is still part of the family. D'Lo went 43 and 39 1 year. He's part of the family. He's got a job here forever.
Mediocrity. Listen, I'm a Steelers fan. Mike Tomlin continues to say the standard is the standard, but what's the standard? Losing in the wild card every year, not going all in and trying to build a true contender, or not going all out and trying to rebuild? That's the Nets. The standard is the standard. It's mediocrity. It's playing. It's first round exits. It's jumping to conclusions and going for stars too early and still being a first round exit, not being able to fully properly build a team around them. It's the same shit. They're just mid. And that's the problem. When you have a front office that continues to do the same shit in different ways, you are continuously going to see the same results. The ceiling of the Nets, if they continue to do what they're doing, is first round exits. The ceiling of the Nets, if they if they do what they did this season, the ceiling of the Nets is what it is. Mid-tier lottery pick, not moving forward for at least 5 years. If the Nets go for Giannis, their ceiling is first round exit because they have no other way of adding a star this offseason without overpaying and without having any form of depth behind them. First round exit ceiling. Okay. Say they rebuild, right? What's their ceiling this year? Top 10 pick. That's better than being a first round exit. It is that simple. Stay the course. Do the right thing. It's not hard. I don't know how many times I have to say it. It's like I should truly write a book on this. It's really not hard. I'll give that shit to Marks for free. I practically do it with the blog that I've already created. Like I'm trying to give this guy a baseline on simple shit on what to do. It's really not hard. Stay the course. Get rid of the vets. Build with the youth. Develop the youth. land 2 stars to the draft, trade for your third missing piece, who's a star, contend. It's really that simple. It's a 2-3 year plan, and you're already done with year 1, so you're really at 1 or 2 years. Give me that job for free.
I want to get to some of the more obscure bench names. We talked about the contributing guys, the kind of the other names on the roster. Keon Johnson.
He's coming back. They love him. He's back. Yeah.
So
get ready to buy a Keon Johnson jersey, dude.
2.3 million. Yeah.
Yep. He's coming back. Drew Timme, I don't see coming back. I think they'll decline that and bring him back on a 2-way deal. They have 2 of those left because Tucson's on one next year. So
Tucson. That was my next question. Tucson's
Tucson's on a 2-way deal. They'll keep him on that. They're not losing money off of that. They're not breaking the bank for him. They'll bring him back on a 2-way deal. So I would say Tucson's back. Drew Timme's declined, but comes back on a 2-way deal. And then who's the last one that I'm missing? Tyrese Martin.
Tyrese Martin. We got Maxwell Lewis too.
Max Lewis. No, he's got one more deal. 1 more year on his deal. I think
he's got. It's an option, isn't it? Or
is it?
I thought so. Hang on. Let me. Yeah, 26, 25, 26 is non-guaranteed.
Oh, okay. I mean, I could see them getting rid of him. I could see them keeping him. Like, if it's non-guaranteed money, why would you want to get rid of it? But at the same time, if it's non-guaranteed money, why waste the roster spot?
That's
so
what
it's like
Maxwell
50-50
Lewis
on it.
is gone, in my opinion, right? Like, because we're gonna bring in 5 new guys potentially.
And I mean, you're talking at a minimum of probably 7 new guys. Realistically, 4 through the draft, 3 through free agency, right? Because you have Noah, you have Derek. You have to think Thomas is coming back. That's 3. Currently on the roster, if you're really thinking about it, Claxton and Johnson are back. So that's 5. All right. And then who's the missing piece that I'm missing out on here? Keon Johnson accepted on the team option.
Yeah.
That's 6. So, yeah, you got 8 to 9 roster spots that you could bring back for new players, 4 or 5 of which are going to be rookies. So,
and then who am I missing here? Tyrese Martin.
I mean, I could see him coming back because they liked what he did, but again, it's like if you're drafting a point guard,
back. Like, Tyrese Martin's not really an NBA player. He can get hot a little bit and he can shoot. He can't handle he's just not. What does Tyrese Martin give me?
Probably the same production that I give the YMCA on a Saturday.
What's that? You can shoot the 3. You can get hot occasionally.
Yeah, I could space the floor. I could put the ball down for 1 or 2 dribbles and pull up. I could get a steal or 2 here and there if I don't pull a hammy.
The level of replacement, I can get a guy in the 2nd round easily that can do what Tyrese Martin can do.
100%, especially with a pick that's at 36, the top 6 pick in the 2nd round. Of course you can.
So why am I bringing him back? Like, it's just, you know what I'm saying? And then all right, and then Trendon Watford's the last name. He's gone, right? They're not bringing him back.
I hope to God he's gone. I hope. Cool player.
His contract's expired. He's done. He's no longer a Brooklyn Net. Right.
Cool player, but if he asked for more money, no. When he played, he won games for us. No. Like, just move on from the mediocre guys who somehow in the last 4 minutes of a game seem to turn into Jordans, even though they're not, because when the time comes to win, they'll never do this. Just move on from it. Keep it moving. Add depth. Make sure they can't win, but they can win with stars around them. Like, that's the thing. You have to have guys around you who are like genuine role players, guys who aren't fighting for their lives to stay in the league, but also can't win a game if they don't have a star leading them and getting them open. Like, D'Lo can't win games by himself in Minnesota as the 2nd option, can't get out of the 1st round with Brooklyn. But with the Lakers, he was in the Western Conference Finals because why? He didn't have to do shit. As long as his stars were getting him open and stars were taking on the heavy load, they were fine. Do that.
And then we didn't talk about Jalen. Jalen Wilson's as good as gone, right? His NBA career is over.
I personally think he'll get declined. Yeah, it's a hot take, and a lot of people don't seem to understand why.
Wait, Mark, is anyone in the sound of my voice? Does anyone want to bring Jalen Wilson? People want to bring him back?
Yeah, I mean, I've done multiple offseason rebuilds so far, and people are like, "Why are you getting rid of Jalen Wilson?" Like,
because he's dog water
Well,
because
not
he
even that.
sucks.
Not even that, because you're bringing in 4 rookies. You can free up $2 million. You don't have to waste a roster spot. He didn't really improve. There's numerous reasons as to why Jalen Wilson will likely get declined. I just don't see it.
I don't even. What is the argument to bring him back? Give
He
me
could
the
be Josh.
argument to
He,
bring.
he could be Josh Hart 2.0. Yeah, we thought that after his first 15 games of his rookie season, and then he shit the bed. He played mediocre. This year he played really bad. Wasn't really that good.
Yeah, I see. In no planet does it make sense to bring him back. First, it's a roster spot that we need.
Yeah.
Second, he's not any good. He can't shoot. Don't tell me he can shoot. He can't shoot. Like he he can't handle the ball. Offensively, he's a waste. Yeah, he's physical, and I like the way he plays. He's just not good at it, right? Like I like the idea of him in theory, but when he actually gets on the court, he's just not very good. And this is a guy. He's from my hood. I wanted to root for him, right? I wanted him to be here. He's not any good at basketball. Like he's not an NBA player.
He's mediocre, and it's not the mediocre that you want on a team long term.
He's out of the NBA next year.
I'd say he's back
playing in
G
China.
League.
Okay, he's in the G League. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Maybe because he's old now too. He'll be 25 next. I don't know. I mean, he's 25. He's at his physical prime. This is it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He's not 20. He's not Derek Whitehead. All right. So next year the roster is going to consist of, you think, either Claxton or Johnson. You say more likely Johnson than Claxton.
Yeah.
Clowney, Whitehead, Keon Johnson, Wilson and Lewis are gone. Martin, you think, is back, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Timmy's on a two-way. D'Lo
Tucson on a two-way.
Tucson on a two-way. Then obviously, you think Zaire is gone. Cam, well, we didn't talk about Cam, but we both think Cam is going to be back, correct?
Yeah, he's either back or he's signed in trade. There's no in between there.
Let's just say he's back, right? Unless if he's in a sign-in trade, it's going to be for a star, which I don't think we have the package for, right? Because even if you packaged up Cam Thomas on a team-friendly deal and your picks, there are still plenty of other teams that have a far better package than you.
Like I said before, if you're really looking in depth at Giannis this offseason and you think there's a world that the Nets even have a chance at him, if you're talking from a business-to-business perspective on what the Bucks would want and what a team could offer, the Pelicans could offer Zion Williamson, Herb Jones, Jordan Hawkins, and all 3 of Milwaukee's picks back. Brooklyn's not beating that. San Antonio could offer Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sochan, the Hawks' 14th overall pick this year, the Hawks' 2026 first, the Spurs' 2029 first, and Sacramento's 2031 first. Brooklyn's not beating that. That's 3 valuable picks out of that. OKC could offer Isaiah Hartenstein, Jalen Williams, Nikola Topic, and Aaron Wiggins for Giannis and Bobby Portis, while also giving up the 15th overall pick this year, a top 8 protected pick next year, a top 5 protected pick from Denver in 2027, the Clippers' first-round pick in 2029, or I'm sorry, in 2027, and Denver's unprotected 2029 first. You're not beating that. Houston could offer Jalen Green, Reed Shepard, Jabari Smith, and Cam Whitmore, plus the Suns and Mavs picks. You're not beating that. Right? There's not a single offer out of those 4 that you can beat. It's not happening. So unless if Giannis says, I will not play a single game of basketball for another team that's not named the Brooklyn Nets, it's not happening. There should be no logical explanation of it happening, at least. So I'm not stressing out over this all off season because Sean Marks wants to make it look like, they have stars who want to be there. Stay the fucking course.
I gotta take a leak real quick. Mark wants to know the Miami offer real quick. I'll be right back in 30 seconds. I gotta take a leak real quick.
Miami? I don't think Miami has a shot in the world of getting him unless if they offer up Bam. I mean, we could take a look, but they don't have draft capital, so they would have to give up Bam. Let's see. Yeah, they have no world of getting him. Dame maybe, but he's out for the season. Let's see. A Giannis trade to Miami. I genuinely don't know where you heard that, nor do I think it has any form of chance in the world. Let's see. Giannis to Miami. All right. Giannis to Miami. Miami gives up, which would probably have to be, do they give up Andrew Wiggins, Terry Rozier, Nikola Jovic, and Jaime Jaquez? Like, is that something that they find interest in? I doubt. You know, let's see. Can Miami take on Bobby Portis's contract in that case? Because Milwaukee would be gaining $9 million in cap space, and if they're moving off of Giannis, they're not going to want. They're not going to want that. All right, so if you were to do Giannis and Pat Connaughton for Andrew Wiggins, Terry Rozier, Nikola Jovic, Jaime Jaquez, the financials work on it. And then if you're looking at the picks that Miami can give up, which they currently own 9, they can't give up their 2026 or 2025 first because their 2027 is gone. I mean, considerably they can give up the 2025. So say they give up the Warriors 2025 first, and then they give up their 2029 unprotected, their 2031 unprotected, and then let's just say like 2032 swap rights. That offer doesn't beat any of the 4 teams that I mentioned whatsoever.
But you guys understand that if any other team is interested in any of these guys, the Nets are out. They don't. This is what I'm saying. The Nets are in hell, and no one wants to understand that. Like, the Nets are in hell.
The thing is, there's 3 factors to a Giannis deal, right? 1, Giannis has said he wants to play for a contender and win. That's not Brooklyn. 2, why would Milwaukee want to do business with Brooklyn knowing there are better assets and youth that they can get elsewhere? Not going to happen. Brooklyn's standpoint, why are you going to waste assets and youth for a guy that you're going to waste a year of his career because you can't build the contender in year 1 and then be forced to accelerate it even further the next year and waste all of your assets? Those are the real questions that need to be asked, not, oh, Giannis has businesses in Brooklyn. Should he come to Brooklyn? No. Ask those 3 questions, and every single answer points to Milwaukee not wanting to do business with Brooklyn. Brooklyn not being able to build a contender and wasting their assets. Why would they even want to do that? They shouldn't. And 3, why would Giannis want to be here outside of having businesses in New York City? Everybody has fucking businesses in New York City that's a professional athlete or a celebrity. It's not hard to do. If your name is known, you're going to have some form of business in New York. Why? Because it's the largest market for places to build revenue as a business. So who gives a shit? That's not a talking point as to why Giannis would want to be in Brooklyn. So, again, if I had to say right now, realistically, based on those 3 assessments, right? Milwaukee not wanting to do business with Brooklyn because the assets are better elsewhere. Giannis not wanting to come to Brooklyn because it's not a true contender and there are better contenders that want him elsewhere. And 3, why would Brooklyn want to do business for Giannis when they can't build a true contender immediately? Within those 3 questions, all 3 show that there's no realistic chance of Giannis. To me, I'm putting it at like 10%.
Well, let me play devil's advocate. Give me your 3 questions again in order. Let me try to answer them from the opposite perspective.
First question: why would Giannis want to come to Brooklyn knowing that he has physically said that he wants to win now? Why would he want to come to Brooklyn when there are better contenders that want him now?
Because he said he wants all of the Euros in big markets. I'm not telling you what I think is accurate. I'm just trying to answer the questions the best. Like if you were giving me a test.
So if he wants a big market though, why wouldn't he do San Antonio? Why wouldn't he do the Lakers? Why wouldn't he do even Houston's considerably? Houston's the same market as Brooklyn considerably. Like if you really think about it.
Because New York City is the media capital of the world, and I want to be in New York, and I want to build a legacy in New York. And when my career is over, I can be like Michael Strahan, and I can have any job in media that I want. I can be. Okay. I have a career after basketball.
So if you're Giannis and I'm looking at him and he says that, I'm gonna just look at him and be like, okay, so you're cool with 1st-round exits as the rest of your legacy. You're good with that because they're not going to build a contender in front of you.
He's going to be here for 2 years and then demand out. Like that's what would happen. Yeah.
Exactly. The Nets as a whole need to stop with the bullshit of trying to grab guys because they want to play in New York. Have guys that want to actually be here and win, right? Kyrie was one of them. Kyrie and Sai shit on each other enough to where that relationship was broken. Whatever. KD came here because of Kyrie, but ended up loving it here, right? That was a guy I would have had here for life with the way that he talks about Nets fans still currently. Outside of that, there's really been nobody that's actually come here and embraced the Nets since New Jersey, right? Like D'Lo for what, 2 years? All right, you did nothing. You lost in the 1st round. You were never a superstar. Who was the last superstar to do it? Probably in New Jersey, Jason Kidd.
But even Darren Williams resigned here, but he resigned here because he had his kid who has special needs, like my kids do, in a special school that's only in New York. Like it was in New York. It's the same school that Trump's kid Barron went to, right? That's why he stayed. Like it wasn't because he loved it here and wanted to be a net. Like it was. There was personal reasons that kept him here.
Money talks, and his family needs were here.
Yeah.
So, but that's my thing, right? So that was the first question. We can all agree that it makes zero sense for Giannis to want to play for a team that's not even ready for contention when there's 4 to 5 other teams out there that are far more ready to contend, even by giving up a haul for him, right?
Yeah.
All right. Second question. Oh, go ahead.
You got another guy. I was gonna say second. What's your next question?
I was gonna say second question. Why would the Bucks even look to do business with Brooklyn? I just stated
this
4
is going to be
teams
the
that have
hardest
better.
one. Yeah, this is good.
I
have nothing for this one.
Yeah, I already stated 4 teams. There's potentially 6 out there that have better offers than Brooklyn. Why would Milwaukee even think twice? Just because Giannis says he wants to be somewhere? Dame said he wanted to be in Miami or Brooklyn. He got traded to Milwaukee, right? Kyrie said he wanted to be a Laker or a Clipper. He got traded to Dallas. Why would Milwaukee even think twice of doing business with Brooklyn if it means they're passing up on 4 or 5 better offers? To keep a good relationship with Giannis? Who gives a fuck? He's already the second best player, if not the best player in Bucks history. He's already going to get his jersey retired at some point there.
Yeah, and when you think about it, right? Back to the Giannis question. Giannis wants out of Milwaukee because they're no longer a title contender. If he came to Brooklyn, they wouldn't be a title contender. Why would he not then want out of here?
That is like shitting your pants and changing your shirt.
Yeah.
You're doing nothing for yourself. You still have shit on you. You still are not moving in a better direction to clean the shit up. You are stuck in shit. And that's what moving to Brooklyn is. You're telling me that Cam Thomas and actually I can't even say Cam Thomas because he wouldn't be here. You're telling me that Cam Johnson and Kyle Kuzma is much different? Right? You're telling me D'Lo's better than Damian Lillard when healthy?
Of course he's not. Right? Of course he's not.
Like, what are we doing? Giannis wants to come to the Knicks. Take him, please. It only values our picks.
They have a trade for him. They can do Bridges and OG.
Yeah, but again, where does it even make sense? You know, why are you going to take in 2 high-end contracts on multi-year deals with minimal draft capital and still not be able to rebuild?
Well, it depends. Okay.
Like at that point, that puts Milwaukee at a 10 seed at best, without their own picks.
Does Milwaukee want to tear it down and start
1,000%? If Giannis walks in there within the next week and says, "I want out. I know that you can't build a contender around me. Let's find a place that gets me able to contend while also gets you the package that you need to begin your rebuild." That's what KD did with the Nets, right? He came in and said, "Listen, Phoenix has an offer that can give you draft capital to put you in a position to rebuild quicker. It's what's best for you. It's what's best for me. Send me over there." And they sent him over there, right? Same thing for Giannis. He's not going to.
It's a different situation. Milwaukee's a small market. The only way,
and that's why they need the draft capital. It's the same thing with OKC.
But do they just want to exist and be okay and just be kind of relevant? Or do they want to try to rebuild it? Like the only way they can get a championship is if they hit a lottery and they win big and they get Giannis with the 13th pick in the draft, right? Like that's the only way Milwaukee can become a championship team is to luck into the best player, one of the best players of his era in the middle of the draft, right? No one is signing in Milwaukee. Like no one wants to be in Milwaukee. It's not on anyone's radar. So, like the Pacers, do they just want to be relevant, or do they want to try and build a championship team again? I don't know.
You're not building a championship team for at least 6 years once you trade Giannis. Doesn't matter if you have draft picks, if you have guys around you. They're not doing that. They're already over the second apron. So getting OG and Mikal makes zero sense for them because you're going to have to extend Mikal, and OG's already making $40 million. At that point, you're paying more for those two, which they can't even do financially because of they're over the second apron. So they're already on financial.
Yeah, but you can obviously throw someone else. You can make the salaries. That's the nuts and but you can make the salary work, right? Because
if you did Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis, and Giannis for Mikal Bridges and OG plus 2 first-round picks, why would Milwaukee want that?
I'm just throwing something.
Right? Yeah, like to me, it's just the Knicks are not even a question. They can take him. I would love for Giannis to be on the Knicks because I know they'd be Eastern Conference Finals losers every year, and they would blow that shit up within 3 years, making that 2029 and 2031 pick very valuable. I already know that. So to me, if they can find a world to get Giannis, please do. Because Jalen Brunson's flopping and Giannis's leg injuries and Cat's softness isn't going anywhere for you. So feel free. You're already struggling with Detroit. And you got two of the top tier defenders in the league. You're going to trade both to get one? Feel free.
And then what was the final Giannis question?
The final one is, why would Brooklyn want to do this, knowing that they can't build a contender and waste the first year of his career?
Cannoli. Well, the question is to be relevant again, to be relevant, to not be this team, right? Like mediocrity to Sean Marks and Joseph Tsai is better than this. I believe that they believe that. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm saying they believe that it is. That they'd rather be 41-41, a play-in team with Giannis, than be 20-62.
Yeah, if you want your fans to be pissed off, again, feel free. You'll get a lot of Greek tourists. Congrats.
All right, good enough. I think that's good enough for Tsai. He's not in it for the long haul. He's in it like.
No, that's why he's been selling off stakes of it to the Koch family for the last 2 years. Eventually, the Koch family is probably going to own it. So, and I'd much prefer that, because at least they have.
Prefer that 100%.
Yeah, they may be shitty people, but so is Joe Tsai. I don't want to hear the bitching and complaining of, oh well, these ones are this, these ones are that. Well, okay, Joe Tsai hates
guys,
Muslim people and has that shit overseas.
If you make
who cares?
$100 billion, your moral coach probably are. Normal people don't make $100 billion. Like, can we?
Yep. Bonnie Blue couldn't suck off enough dudes to get to that money, so we're not getting it.
All right. I guess that's it. Is there anything else you wanted to address on this show?
No, honestly, I think we covered it all. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. We're gonna go for a 2-round mock draft. We'll go with that again. I did update it. Isaiah Evans is actually staying in the draft, but keeping his eligibility at Duke. So 50-50 on whether he'll be in it or not. I'll keep him in there for now. Same thing for Yaxel Lendeborg, so he's back on the big board. So yeah, we'll have a full 60-player list with all 2 rounds mocked up, trades, the whole 9 yards, random lottery simulations. So same time tomorrow. Just
to the stupid people who don't understand, explain how that works. How you can keep you can be draft eligible, but also be able to go back to. How does that work exactly?
I believe
to the stupid people out there who don't understand.
Believe it's like you can't hire an agent. Once you hire an agent for the draft, I think that gets rid of your eligibility. But if you represent yourself, I believe that's how you keep your eligibility.
So in theory, someone could draft you and you could go back to college?
I believe you have to pull out by a certain deadline.
Okay.
Like he's going to go through the draft process, the combine and that type of stuff. But if he feels that he's not going where he wants to, then he can just be like, all right, I'm going to withdraw from the draft. I'm going to head back to Duke. I'm already committed there anyway. So it kind of just keeps that option open. But if you see him hire an agent sometime in June, then it likely means he's going in the draft.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a complicated process. It's very strange.
So if he sees his stock dropping like Shedeur Sanders or Quinn Ewers, he could just say, I'm going back, right? But once the draft, there's a drop dead date in that.
Yeah, right? There's a date in which you can no longer enter the draft nor pull out of the draft. I don't know the specific dates, but there are some.
All right, so we'll be back live tomorrow about this time, about 11:30 Eastern time. It was a good show, Dylan. It was
a good comeback show. It's been a while.
It's been a while. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. 2 shows in 2 days because we need to get back in the flow. Appreciate y'all. It's April. Can you believe April's over already? That's wild.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He's already.
Thank God though, because we need to figure out this answer on May 12th. So hopefully this shit gets quicker. Because I can either go at a bunch of people and say, haha, you're an idiot, or I can be like, haha, I get the guy that I want. So either way, I win.
Either way, I'm a winner. Being right really helps a lot. Like the best part of
but that's the thing. Like, I don't want to be right on this. I hope guys like Mark and them are right, because they're not. They can come at me all they want, but I'm just going to be like, nice, I get the guy that I want. Congrats. Like if I'm right, you look like an idiot. If I'm wrong, I get the guy that I want. I can live with that.
When the Jets drafted Zach Wilson, I told every Jet fan in the world that this is the worst draft pick in the history of the draft. I said that out loud. I said, there's no way this works. 0% chance he's anything but a complete failure as a quarterback, right? And, no, he's special. He's the future. Like, he's the worst thing I'd ever seen in my life, right? And it sucked that I was right, but I was still like, I was right. You know, like I wish he turned out
like
to
a
be
moral
Brady.
victory for a team, for your team shitting the bed. You know, morally you feel great, but when you're watching the product for the next 3 years after that mistake, you're like, oh, this sucks. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully they get it right.
April 30th, 2025 from Texas. And you're in New York today, right?
I am in New York today, yeah. Oh, Jersey considerably, but
Jersey. From Texas and Jersey to the world. Thank you. God bless.
Later.